Hey everybody, it's the third day of the coronavirus shutdown and I'm going to make a second video here. Monday I did one on tuning and so now I'm going to do a few on music theory. For ninth graders, they have to know major key signatures, and the way they would demonstrate that is I would say, what's the key signature for G? And then they would say there's 1 sharp, F sharp. So I'll talk about that and I'll show some images and give you an app where you can practice that and maybe talk a little bit about how it relates to our instruments. So what we do in class is we'll chant to memorize the order of flats and sharps. Flats from left to right read B, E, A, D, G, C, F, and sharps are the opposite of that, or backwards from that, is F, C, G, D, A, E, B. And so you can kind of picture it, or you can memorize it, or you can come up with a phrase that uses those words, and I'll show you all of those things. It's pretty easy to memorize. For me, I actually kind of picture the key signature. So I'll show you images of the key signatures. Here are the key signatures in treble and bass clef. So if you're watching this video, you can pause that. I'll also put it on the Google Classroom. And then, as I said, you can come up with phrases. And for me, I like to picture it. It's pretty easy to memorize B, E, A, D, G, C, F, but there's the treble clef flats. They use bead, like B, E, A, D, and then go catch fish as a method of memorizing those. And for treble clef, they got fat cats go down alleys eating birds. Again, it's not really that hard to memorize those words. And if you picture B, E, A, D, G, C, F, you can kind of picture it and read it backwards. So, but it's good to do the visual of what they look like, and remember that they have to go in a specific octave. So here's lastly the bass clef version for bass clef people to picture. And again, I'll put this on the Google Classroom PDF of this. So there's a couple rules that everybody uses, and they're pretty simple, but they can be confusing. They can confuse each other. So the rule for flats is you go one past the name of the key. So if I said the key of E flat, and you knew the order of flats, you would go, okay, B flat, E flat, that's the one I said, A flat. There's 3 flats in the key of E flat, B flat, E flat, A flat. Really easy. Do another one, let's say G flat. Okay, G flat, well, I'll list the order of flats, but go one past G flat, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat. There's 6 flats. And that's what a student would do. So that's quite easy, especially if you can memorize it. So where it gets tricky is the sharps. There's a different rule. So you say you've got your order of sharps memorized, and I said, okay, the key of D. Well, the name of the key is a half step above the last sharp. So in that case, you'd have to say, what's a half step below D? That's the question. The question is D. Half step below D is C sharp. So then you'd say that many sharps, F sharp, C sharp. You'd end with C sharp. So I'll do another one. E, half step down from E is D sharp. Okay, so I'm going to list the sharps until I get to that one. F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp. So third and last one, B. B major, okay, down a half step from B major is A sharp. So list the sharps until I get to A sharp. F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp. That's pretty easy, but that's a different rule than the flats. And where the sharps make things a little more confusing is also all of those examples, those are not familiar sharps to people. So if I said to a flute player, what's a half step below E, they would reply E flat. Or a tuba player, what's a half step below B, they'd say B flat, right? And that would be the right answer. But in this case, for sharp key signatures, you have to go down to the next note, the next alphabetical letter. So all of those knowns, the ones I gave as examples, C sharp is a half step below D. C sharp and D flat are enharmonic equivalents. The other one was D sharp, a half step up from D sharp. The half step up from D is D sharp, and a half step down from E is E flat. D sharp and E flat are the same note. They just have, they look different and they have different names, but they have the same sound. And the last one I used as example was, what's a half step down from B was A sharp, right? Well, if you thought B flat, that would mess up this whole kind of process. So sharps, you got to make sure that you're going down a half step from the name of the key, and you got to remember that it's a sharp name. It's not a flat name. It's the sharp name. It's the next letter name down. So there's a good website called musictheory.net. There's a tremendous amount of resources, and out there you could Google search any of this. But the one thing I like about musictheory.net is you can customize exercises. So I have specific exercises that only ask the questions that I would ask, instead of just asking more broad questions. So this is what it looks like on my iPad. And in this case, it's going to give you the opposite. They're going to give you a key signature, and you're going to say how many flats. But you don't have to list them. You just have to click on them. Whoops, that's sharps. There are 2 flats for B flat. 1 passes the name of the key. B flat, E flat. Submit answer. I got it right. E flat. Can you do that one? 1 passes the name of the key. B flat, E flat, A flat. So that would be 3 flats, and it puts them in there for you. B flat, well, we just did that one. That's pretty easy. D flat. So we're going to go B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat. 5 flats. C. That's one you kind of just have to know. It has no sharps or flats. Submit answer. E flat. We're going to get a sharp one here anywhere. F is 1 flat. E major. There we go. We finally got a sharp question. So that was one of the ones I used as an example. Down a half step from E major would be D. So if I memorize my sharps, F, C, G, D, F, C, G, D, 4 sharps. So this is just a tool you can use to memorize, to practice those things. So let me get my saxophone and I'll talk about how it relates to music. So learning the key signatures so we can explain it, or we can see it and understand it, or verbally explain it, is one thing, and that's important. But really, the goal would be to know the key signatures on your instrument. So I know that the key of A has 3 sharps, but I can also play it on my instrument because I've played it a lot of times. Now, I was sure I was going to play that right, but not because I knew it had 3 sharps, but because I know what it feels like to play it. So you got to play it over and over and over again and develop that muscle memory. And so, of course, important to play slowly, to play the whole range of your horn. I only make kids play it at 1 octave to start with, but music's not written in the range of 1 octave. So you got to take it your whole range of your horn. So that was up to the highest note I can play and the lowest note. And then there's lots of patterns you can play. So over and over again until it's under your fingers and you're not really thinking about it.